With a towel on my head and a fake plastic microphone in my hand, two things became extremely obvious to my parents. Number one, honey, I think our son is going to be a flaming homosexual. I was actively doing a Cher impression. Yeah, and number two, he's not gay, he's special. Special, different from the pack, the next ship. I would prize the fact that I was destined for greatness at a young age. After all, I was special. Special education was once defined as specially designed instruction made to meet the unique needs of a child with a disability. This definition has since been erased from the United States Department of Education website. Most recent statistics indicate that there are 7.5 million students across the United States who fall under the criteria of receiving special education. And while this number is the greatest in years, in this case, there is no strength or empowerment in numbers. Instead, there is shame, there is stigma, and there's a threat from our government. According to an article published just last week by The Hill, President Trump's anti-DEI initiatives include threats to students protected under the Individuals with Disabilities Act. I am one of those 7.5 million students, one of the many shamed for my existence and afraid of what's happening to our rights. And that is a problem. We must dismantle the stigma associated with the special education system to meet our full potential and not be weighed down or limited by arbitrary misconceptions of being the wrong type of special. So, today, we'll understand how the word special has changed to no longer mean that you're the next gay icon. Then we'll look at the implications, and finally, I will share some ideas on how we can restore the true meaning behind special. But before we begin any talk about disability, let's first define what it means. Disability comes in all shapes and sizes. There's no one right way to be disabled. So, when I say disability, just know that this 10-letter word is meant to encompass the lives of millions of people worldwide, not just one picture of what it means to be disabled. Special, much like the word disability, carries a not-so-great connotation. According to research from the Northwestern Evaluation Association, students in special education tend to be taught that they're less than, inferior to their peers. Special has come to mean not good enough. We have ingrained the notion that having a learning difference makes you less worthy, less adult, less human. Our vernacular is riddled with the historical mistreatment of those with disabilities. Before the 1980s, nearly every student with a disability was either institutionalized or sent to special schools. Even our gay icon Cher was labeled mentally retarded growing up because she had dyslexia. While our understanding of disabilities has evolved since those days, our fears behind being special linger in the words we use. Walk into any middle school in the United States and you will most likely hear the words touched, special, or even retarded to humiliate someone by comparing them to someone with a disability. Many of these words are reductive or plain outdated. In a broader sense, the reason why we fear being compared to the disabled is because our culture stigmatizes being weak. According to an article discussing the shame felt by stroke patients who recently lost their independence, too often in America, we are afraid of being weak, vulnerable, dependent. We isolate ourselves rather than show our weakness. When we have what our society deems as shortcomings, we assimilate to the best of our abilities. and harm ourselves in doing so. We are afraid of being special. Long before I had a grasp on the concept of disability, I knew what it meant to be special. When I performed Cher's Believe in front of my family, I was on my own special version of American Idol. Budget version of American Idol. But that's not the type of special I'm accustomed to today. I have an IEP, otherwise known as an individualized education plan. It is one of the most common ways that students receive special education services in the United States. I knew when I got my IEP that I would be perceived differently, and not in the way I wanted. But unfortunately, this is not unique to me, as a 2022 UNICEF report finds that compared to their non-disabled counterparts, students in special education are 41% more likely to be discriminated against, and are 51% more likely to feel unhappy in their schools. I witnessed this firsthand when my classmates in middle school outright mocked me for having an IEP. My nickname? Retard Patrick. I think we can all agree that that's a really uncreative nickname. Like, there are so many other disparaging nicknames for the name Patrick. Dude, there's a starfish named after me. Come up with something better. Students in special education act as a two-way mirror for our projections of our fear of being disabled. Not only do they face societal stigma, but that stigma bounces right back at those who project it, thus creeping its way into our everyday lives. As Alison Kiefer argued in her work, Feminist Queer Grip, the projection of normality starts in childhood, much of which begins in our schools and lasts into adulthood. This causes people both disabled and non-disabled to not seek help in the future. In middle school, I shied away from anything that would make me feel as though I were the wrong type of special. I threw away the idea that I could be special like my favorite pop stars, and I started to self-isolate. By the second semester of 7th grade, I had only attended 4 complete days of school. Instead of facing judgment every time I asked for help, I decided to never ask for anything again. But I don't want students in special education to live like this. I don't want to live like this. Transitioning from middle school to high school, I knew something had to change. I just needed to figure out how. Well, for one, this issue is caused by misconceptions, caused by a lack of education. To my non-disabled folk, I want you to do a little homework. Take some time after the event and do a little research on the different types of disabilities that affect people in your communities. Then, reflect on how you view the word special. Does it fit the textbook definition, or is there something more sinister lurking in that 7-letter word? And finally, we must address the issues within education itself. According to the University of North Carolina, issues like a lack of funding and racial inequity are issues that the special education system faces on the daily. And while the Department of Education has made headway in removing these barriers, we face the challenge of an administration that threatens to wipe out the department entirely. Advocacy, even beginning in your local school district, can change the world. I know this for a fact because I've done it. Today, I work on a school board for the same district that saw me struggle for nearly a year. I represent the lives of students, both disabled and non-disabled, who I vow to make feel that word I lost so long ago. Today, we explored our fears, and we learned how to fight them. While I may not be the next Cher, a judge did one time tell me that I had great hair volume, so I could be the next Dolly Parton. But, in any case, I am, above any other word, special.